If you're interested in one of these cars, then this video might be useful. So hopefully you can stick around, because what I want to do is show you around this kind of ionosphere green one very quickly. We also have this black one outside that we're going to have a look at, and we're going to go for a drive in that one as well. And my aim here is to kind of give you a sort of touchy-feely, I suppose kind of as close to, without having to get into the car and drive it and experience it, just what it's like when you press this or you do that or you sit here, and hopefully it's useful. So I'll try and minimize the chat in between and we'll start looking. Just before we do, if there's anything I miss, let me know in the comment section below. Or if you're in Ireland and you want to know more about the car, WhatsApp 0868431945. Okay, let's start off with the front. Actually, you know what? I'm going to start off by going for a drive. Let's have a quick look at the key. Lock, unlock, remote start. Here's a new button here. So if you hold that, it pops the bonnet open, and I've already popped it open. Sorry, what I meant to do was hold it, and you get 2 pops. And then the bonnet's up. I'm going to come back to that in a little while because there's a lot more information on that. This one obviously here is going to open up the boot. So power tailgate like you'd expect, and then obviously that closes down the boot as well. And then coming back to the button for remote start. So if you want to move your vehicle around, so lock the car once, hold this down. You'll see in here then the car starts to turn on. And now, sorry, I just got a delivery van here beside me. This button, or that noise is not from the car. I can hold it forwards or backwards. And this is a big car, and there is going to be cases where it's going to be in a spot that's either too big, someone's parked behind you or beside you or whatever it is, and it's made it awkward to get in and out. Those doors are quite big in the car, so that's how you move the car, basically using that kind of function. Getting into the car then, I can use the functionality from the key like a normal car. So open the car, lock the car, but most of the time I think you're probably going to use some of these functions here. Get this out of the way. So the little kind of braille button, you press that along there. One thing that's really cool on this at night time actually is there's a little light in through here. We might be able to see that in the showroom in a minute. And what's really nice here then is Ioniq is written there. And I started seeing door handles like these a couple of years ago on S-Class. So it is a pretty upmarket kind of thing to put on a car. Okay, to start the car, so we're going to close this here. Starting the car is down through here. Actually, I just turned it off because I'd remotely started it there already, but starting in through there. Functionality for moving backwards and forwards. Forwards, backwards, park. And then steering wheel functionality, backwards, forwards, upwards, downwards. Oh, that's a big dog in that car. Anyway, right, let's go for a bit of a drive. So, kind of hard to get this across in video sometimes, but it feels quite high. But then again, so does Santa Fe. So I think a lot of the car comparisons even I might end up doing here could be to Santa Fe, because they are similarly sized. But remember, this is actually a bigger car. One thing you may or may not have noticed there, when I went for reverse, it's kind of like a cautionary thing to say you're in reverse. And when I go back forward, then it changes colour. Now, I would imagine that links to the drive mode, which is over here, and it does. So different drive modes have different colours. So you can see eco, you can see normal, you can see sport, my drive, where you set up your own way of driving the car, and then a snow mode as well. So you get some feedback here, but also that reduces how aggressive things like cruise control is, and also how aggressive things like the throttle response is and the air conditioner. Okay, let's go for a drive. So I'm going to turn on the rearward camera. I just like it. It's functional on a lot of Hyundais. I just like being able to look backwards through that screen. Couple of little functions that I would normally turn off, and I'm going to show you this later on in the video, but the first one here, steering wheel assist, I just don't like it, so I do turn it off, but you know, you don't have to. And this one over here, you can see up here, gives a notification to say I've turned off the speed warning. I love this little camera in through here. As you turn right or left, little camera lights up down the side of the car. And the digital rear view mirror, what do you think of that? So normal rear view mirror, digital rear view mirror. Really nice feature, I like that. And why it's handy, you know, if someone's kind of, if all the stuff is piled up in the boot, or if you've got like, you know, 5 people behind you in the car, it's nicer just to look into that rather than looking through people's heads when you're looking backwards. Over here on the right hand side, that's a massage chair. I'll show you that when we get further out the road, when we stop. And then after that, one other kind of safety warning, it is useful. See here, got this little red eye flashing, because it wasn't. So I need to look forward and then it'll turn off. That is actually a useful safety feature. So we're driving along some back roads along through here, and the car is nice and smooth. I'm going to turn left in here. This is a big car, but to do a U-turn like this, pretty straightforward. Lots of visibility, easy to maneuver, very straightforward, using the gearbox kind of setup. One thing I've just noticed on the seating, so I was using a massage chair coming over, but as I press the button, it toggles through different types. So it's something called comfortable stretch. So you can have it off, you can have like a pelvic sort of workout, and I can feel it in my bum, lumbar, which I can now feel in my back, or whole body. So basically, I can feel it in my butt and I can feel it in my back, and it's just moving around and going in and out and stuff like that. But probably on a long spin, that's actually quite nice, so it is. If you're young, trust me, as you get older, this kind of stuff is helpful. Anyway, to turn it off, I just keep toggling, we go back to off. And that's pretty much it. One other actually very interesting thing I've noticed here. So normally on these cars, you go forward, you go backwards, and that's pretty much it. When you go reverse on one of these, there's a, if you just listen, hard to hear probably, it vibrates this stalk as you go backwards to warn you that you've gone into reverse. So that's actually a new thing. In terms of acceleration, so let's just floor it up to maybe 80 kilometers an hour here. So it's a 110 kilowatt hour battery, but crucially it's a 215 brake horsepower motor. So there's plenty of power, but it's nice and smooth the way it delivers it. This is, listen to this cabin, we're going over bumps. This is a nice quiet cabin. Car sits on the road lovely, doesn't feel nervous or anything like that. There's an ample amount of power. Yes, there is faster cars out there, but there's an ample amount of power for what you want. One other thing I want to show you, regen braking. So I can have different settings, or I can pull the paddle on the left, and the car comes to a halt without me actually using my foot, which means you're not using brake pads. If you're new to electric cars, that's something that we can show you. If not, then you've already seen it in your own electric car if you're used to driving electric cars as well. I think it's really nice. There's nice visibility, it's nice and quiet, it's smooth, it's refined. Anyway, don't take my word for it. Come try it with us, or go to your local dealer and see what you think yourself. So it drives pretty nice. Anyway, a couple of things on the outside that we didn't see on the other one. So once the car is locked, the lights turn off. So I like the little sequence at the start. So if you unlock the car, you get this kind of swoosh up through here with the lights, and then these ones come on as well. So that looks really smart. And then similarly in the rear, if I unlock, we get another light sequence up along through there. So again, that looks pretty cool. Just one thing while I think of it, if anyone wants to know a bit more about design philosophy on this car, the eGMP platform, all that kind of stuff, I have this video here, and that goes in, it's something kind of like a preview video, but there's some information about the design philosophy of the car. This video is more about touchy-feely. It's as close I can get you to test drive and a look around the car without actually physically having to do it. While I'm here, one thing we did talk about outside was the door handles. Remember I was saying there's little lights in through here, so it's probably a little bit easier to see inside in the showroom here, that's all. So just a couple of things up front in terms of lighting. Daytime runners along through here, and then really nice lighting functions in through here. Obviously, as you'd expect, parking sensors on the front. Let me just show you the Frunk. So the Frunk is considerably bigger than other models. It's like 88 litres. So if you look down here, you've one button to open up the boot. You've one button to open up the bonnet. So we'll see the boot is opening away. I'm after pressing that. And then the other one, and that's also for closing as well. I just hold it to close it. This one over here, now I didn't hold it, I should have held it for longer, so which means the boot hasn't closed. So I've got to hold it all the way down, and now it's after closing. Right, more crucially, to get into our 88 litre Frunk, press, pop, and pop again. So, around here, there's a lot of stuff in here, but literally it's one lift. So the reason it double clicks is you don't have that internal latch like you'd have in a normal bonnet, so it's much easier to get into. And what you can have then is a shallow frunk. Now this, and there's a light in here as well. If this was a dual motor car, it would be slightly different, but because it's rear wheel drive, we end up with the 88 litre version. One other thing that's interesting, these are all covered now, things like battery coolant, things like brake fluid. Okay, that's water for the washer. But when you look underneath the car, access to a lot of the stuff is no longer there. Well, it is if you lift off the covers, but I would tend to just leave things like the charging cables and all that kind of stuff in there. So what I do with the bonnet, close it down and then push. Okay, other things I noticed down the side of the car. So along here, I've got this kind of little braille section here. Opens up the cap. AC charging. So AC charging from your house. Let's think about it this way. If you're new to electric cars, a 3-pin socket's going to take a really long time. So the car's going to come with the cable that's going to allow you to plug it into your house. Your house is going to give you like 6.5 to 6.8 kilowatts every hour from a charge point. It is a 110 kilowatt hour battery even. You're never charging from zero, but from 0 up to 100% would be, 110 kilowatts divided by about 6.5 to 7 kilowatts every hour. That's going to be like 17 hours or something like that. But that's really not how you're going to do it. You charge it probably in different sections, and you're never going home with 0%. And a lot of people, I find, they kind of live between about 20 and 80% for daily use. So that would be AC charging. And there is some public AC charging, which can be up to 11 kilowatts. But Oh, that's interesting. Before that used to just fall off and it just hangs. Now it's actually on a hinge. So that's for fast charging. This car will take up to 250 kilowatts. So that means we'll say 18%. Why am I getting everything wrong today? 10% up as far as 80% is about 24 minutes. So, and that's going to garnish you probably the bones of what, 350 kilometers, something like that. But if you want more information, let me know in the comments and we can be a bit more bespoke on the information we're giving you. Just in terms of lighting in the rear, this is how it looks. This is how the indicators look. The fog light is down through there. The other thing I was going to say then, to get in, you'd normally go for this area here, but guess what? It's not there. So to open up, you can use the key, you can use the inside, or you have the button there, or then after that, then to close that down, you have this button over through here. One thing I am interested to see is the rear washer. So you obviously have water that's coming at the front and rear windows, but the rear washer, if I go for water on the rear, I should be getting water to clean up the cameras, and I am. So the cameras are also getting washed, which means then when you're using the rear camera, or if you're using the digital rear view mirror, if I go for water along here, we should see a bit of a squeeze there of water and a squeeze there of water. So that's kind of cool. So they become useless when they get dirty, and this is overcoming that. That's the first time we've had that on Hyundai. The air flaps are now active, so you see the way they kind of move, close, and then they also slide forward. So what I mean by that is they close and then they come in and out as well. And that's something that allows them to have kind of more aerodynamic bumpers and better kind of cooling and stuff like that as well. Anyway, I do really want to compare this car to the Santa Fe outside. We're going to have a look at that in a sec. But probably one thing I think that's important to mention is drag coefficient and just the shape of this car. So you might notice, if you're looking at the car, comes up along here, and then dips down quite a bit. And what I mean by that is, look at the height of that compared to an Ioniq 5. It's, for the size of that car, it's not terribly higher at the back. And when you stand behind it, you can almost see this part of the roof, and it has this kind of barrely look. But if you look at the way a boat is shaped, it kind of goes out and it comes in. And this kind of goes, like what we were saying, out and in, and up and over and down. And you can really see it over here. So the drag coefficient on this car is 0.259. To put that into perspective, something like a Toyota Prius, which was always like a real industry standard, is like 0.26. The Ioniq 6, which is like our most efficient car in terms of shape, is 0.21, fair enough. But if you look at something like an X5, or actually a car that's going to probably go in competition with this XC90, they're over 0.3. BYD CLU over 0.3. So that is an extremely efficient shape. Hyundai make their own steel, so they've gone out of the way to make a bonnet, wings, quarter panels, doors, all lower. So they use this kind of really high tensile steel because they do make their own steel and they have some efficiencies that way. But they've gone out of their way to make it light. This car is a heavy car, no matter what way you look at it. It's a 2.5 ton vehicle. So having a really good drag coefficient, having lighter materials used, still ends up with a heavy car. But that's how they're managing to get a rating of like 620 kilometers on a cruise range for something like this car. Let's be realistic. If you're less experienced on electric cars, I think a realistic number for something like this, I see some real world tests coming in around 530 kilometers. So I'm going to say in a really, really heavy part of winter, I think you're in the high 400s, 470, 480 kilometers. I think in normal summer conditions, you're 530, 540. So I think give or take 20 kilometers, you're going to end up in the high 400s, early 500s. In terms of kilometers of range. Anyway, I want to go out and have a look at this one outside. Oh yeah, before I do, it's kind of darker in here. The car does have really nice ambient lighting on the inside, and with that light interior, I'd say at night time, that's quite nice. And obviously you can change the colours and all that kind of stuff as well. Okay, so the car is just in with us at the time of the video, so I think a lot of people are kind of asking in terms of Santa Fe as a comparison. And some people are also saying they're going to go look at Kia EV9, so I'd expect that. Okay, very loosely without EV9 bashing here, okay? EV9's a supercar, seeing them on the road, I think they're really cool looking. Anyway, we do have a sunroof on Ioniq9. I don't believe that's an option on EV9 right now. I believe we have an extra 50 kilometers of range on Ioniq9 over EV9. And then in terms of size, I think we're about 4.5 centimeters longer, about a centimeter higher, and then we're about the same width as well. That is it in terms of bashing EV9. It's not my intention, but I do have to just give some of the advantages on Ioniq9 because that is my job. Okay, so let's have a look at it compared to Santa Fe, right? So they're parked pretty even at the front. We've got 23 more centimeters of length back here, so it's pretty obvious when you put the two of them side by side that Ioniq 9 does have a little bit of extra space, to be fair. In terms of width, Ioniq 9 is about 8 centimeters wider, and it's also about 2 centimeters higher, although today actually this one has got roof rails, so it nearly makes it look a bit, roof bars even, and nearly makes it look a bit higher. But Ioniq 9 is actually a higher car, but the most obvious one, I have to say, it really is the length on the rear. Let's just have a quick look on the front, and the styling's very different as well. So some people are really going to prefer one over the other. But in terms of width on the road, Ioniq 9 is a wider car. Something I've really noticed, and maybe that's to do with the width here. Okay, so as you move down the side, when I'm standing beside the cars, it gets really tall around here. So this one here, kind of, if I compare it to where my head is here, and if I move on to that one, this one just feels a lot taller, so it does. Now, look at this door on Santa Fe, right? Look at that door, okay? Here's the size of the door. What I want you to look at is, and this is by no means not to be nice to Santa Fe, but the aperture to get in here, just bear in mind, I'm just putting my foot in, to get in, that is the size, okay? The door on this car reminds me of when I used to go to the States years ago, and you'd see these big American cars. It is just massive. It is just such a big door. So maybe it's hard to get across in the video, but it is a gigantic door, and I kind of thought about that for a sec. So if you look at that, also a big door, but maybe this gives you a better idea. That is a really, really big door. It's kind of weird when you see it in real life. Right, look at the apertures again. Remember the size I had? This one here, actually, to be super unequivocal, see the way that opens up like that and moves forward. Remember I was going like that? Look how much extra space I have to get in. So it's just a lot wider, and I think that's why this section of this door has to be a lot bigger to make up for that extra space that's pushing back. Again, this area here, looking at the side and the side, it's just, this area seems so massive. Anyway, let's look at the space behind here. So when you look at this boot, this is what you have behind Santa Fe, whereas an Ioniq 9, when that's sitting with the seats up, it's about 338 litres of space. So actually, it's not a bad boot as 7-seaters go. In terms of adjustment on the seats, so I got 3-pin socket back here. What I like about these is they're electric. So if I keep holding the button here, the seat falls down. And similarly, if I press the same button again, it comes back up. The other one ahead of it, if I press that, it drops the other seats down. And again, in no way to bash Santa Fe, I love Santa Fe. They are manual, they are easy to use, and you just pull them back up. So let's have a look at the amount of space when you drop all the seats. Look at that, and because the roof is high as well, there's such a ridiculous amount of space in there. And to be fair, when you do the same with Santa Fe, there's also quite a large amount of space. Aperture wise, I do have to say Santa Fe looks a little bit larger up in the top section there. So this one does narrow a bit at the top. So from that point of view, for absolute aperture space, Santa Fe does look a little bit more accessible. The boot lid on Santa Fe is a lot bigger, and this one is a wee bit smaller. So you end up like with a longer door and a smaller boot lid, a shorter door and a longer boot lid. They're only observations though, they're not actual practical things. Most people will tend to use these cars, well, a lot of them that I deal with seem to be using them as 5-seaters rather than 7-seaters, and like more like an occasional 7-seater. So to be fair, when you do use it in a 5-seater format, you still have a 908 litre boot. Anyone that's looked at it so far, golf clubs, all that kind of stuff, they are quite satisfied with it. Santa Fe, to be fair, is always still a generous amount of room there, but at a glance we have a bit more length on that. But like I was saying to you, I think the aperture is just a little bit, because of the shape, has a little bit of an advantage on Santa Fe, but along here for length, out and out, this is actually bigger. What's really handy on this, actually, it comes with this folding mat, so it depends if you're using like the 7-seater format or the 5-seater format, the mat kind of folds over, so that's pretty cool. Right, I just want to show you from the point of view of, if you're a 6-foot person, right, I've set this seat at the front to be suitable for how I would sit in a car. I think like that is fair to say. That's a good amount of leg room and all that kind of stuff, so I'd be comfortable there. Then what I would do is I'm going to let this seat down for a sec. Right, sitting behind a 6-foot person, I would have, look at that. So I can really, you know, there's a lot of space, but like you do, actually, there's something cool. LED lights, the ventilation's up here. Anyway, I digress. So let's say if I moved all the way forward, this is as far forward as you can go, but I still have a load of space along here. So let's sit behind myself if I left that seat there, this seat here. So, right, yes, do I have a minimal amount of legroom? Yeah, but could I do it comfortably? Yeah, it's fine. So if I move the 2 seats in the front, it is actually doable. But what I'm trying to get across is a 6-foot person behind a 6-foot person behind a 6-foot person is doable. One thing I do see here actually is these are actually for moving and reclining these seats, so I can let these seats back. Oh, that actually makes a nice difference. So they can move backwards and forwards along through here. I do have a USB connector, so does my passenger over through there. And then we have our own ventilation in here, and we have our own ventilation. We have an LED style lamp in through there. If I want to control this, I can press this, or I can pull this lever down through here. So, and for getting out, it is much easier to get out of than Santa Fe. Blinds in the rear, electric windows over through here, Bose sound system all the way around. Just put that back down into place. Storage, more USB connectors. One point of note on these, there's 6 USB connectors, 2 in each row. They are 100 watt. So normally you had, they will say, a 27 watt charging in something like a Santa Fe or most of the other cars we sell, Tucson, all that kind of stuff. This is the first one, I think, with 100 watt. So like that charges the phone or a device way quicker than before. If I want from here, or the driver, you can control the passenger seat just to have some level of control if nobody's sitting in that seat. I've got cooled and ventilated seats from here. I haven't seen that before on the Hyundai, where I've got a fairly elaborate amount of control over heating and cooling rear seats and just ventilation in the rear of the car and where you want air to blow and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of cool. I can hear the vents making noise in the rear. Having the big roof, like that is cool. That is just nice. Okay, the universal island, which people can use in the back or people can use in the front. It's pretty damn big. So if you take this out, the size of that down there is like 12.6 litres, and even when you put this top section in properly, you still have another 5.6 litres of storage. And we saw that's quite big actually in through there. We've already seen that. More storage down through there. More storage here. More storage here. Oops. And then, if I can press that, oops. More storage down through there. And actually I see a little light in there as well. Just for movement of the seats. So forward, backwards. This is to extend this support along here, in and out. And then this is the relaxation seat. So so that'll go into position. So someone said to me the other day, I never really thought of it, it makes sense. If you're charging the car and you want to be comfortable, that kind of makes sense. Or if you're just waiting for someone to collect them from something and you're sitting and you want to be comfortable, that's pretty cool. And then just once you go drive or whatever, put it back into place and it'll revert back. You can have memory storage in through here. We've already seen this here, which is for the massage seat. Usual stuff like electric through windows and mirrors. We've seen these kind of the cap release for the charger, traction control, and then for the front and rear frunk or the boot. Handbrakes in through here, aluminium pedals. I like the way it has plus to go, minus to brake. And then this is lumbar support down along here, which you can move up or down through the seat. If you're still with me, I really appreciate your time. One thing I noticed here, wireless charging, but it's NFC. So someone correct me in the comments. I think that allows you to charge an auxiliary item. So if you had like earbuds, you could put your phone here and it'll charge the auxiliary item that's linked to it. So I have no idea how that works, but apparently that's what it does. Drive mode in through here, so I think we talked about that already. I can leave the camera on when I'm driving forward if I want by using this button here, or I can turn on and off the rear sensors in through there. So the camera, I wish it would stop doing that. Close that, so I can have front camera, I can have different kind of modes on the front camera, I can have the rear camera, again I can have different versions of the rear camera, or I can have this one here, which is the 360 bird's eye. Actually looks really well on this one, because the further away you are from cars, the better this is apparently. But so that's kind of cool as well. More storage down here, more USB points in through there, all USB-C. These controls are very like what we've seen on Santa Fe and Tucson. So heated and cooled seats. It's got a little display of its own down there as well, which is grand. Front and rear windscreen demisters, all that kind of stuff. I mean, some people like screens, some people like hard buttons, and I like the way they're kind of embracing this. So I have some people I hand the car over to, and I say, here's how you go home in the menu, here's the map, here's search, here's your media functions, here's general settings. Or I have other people that pick up the car and I say, right, here's the map, here's the radio, we scroll across, and we go into settings, and everything's in through here, you know. So it's the same thing. This one's obviously more elaborate. Can't remember if we saw it when we were driving. We have the little 360 cameras that light up depending what direction we're going. We've already seen the rear view camera, and then the this can be completely covered or half covered, or you can stop it or whatever you want. So I would rather it open, so it'll go all the way back. But what's cool is it is an opening sunroof as well, and it goes out and over, and it's quite a big opening sunroof, so that's really nice. So this is the model we're going to get in Ireland. So colours of the interiors and brushed aluminium like this, and this kind of wood grain effect up here. That's all standard stuff right now. Down in through here, there is a tiny bit of storage in through there as well. Got a glove box, which is, you know, pretty standard sized glove box. And then back up here, lighting controls. So I like the way, like all Hyundais, it tells you what mode you're in. Auto dip lights, which means they dip when you meet traffic. Auto wipers, they come on themselves. This is going to monitor your eyeballs. If you're not looking at the road, it will warn you that you're not looking at the road, but it works well. For a lot of people these days, you do have steering. So you got lane keeping, keeps you in the lane, and lane centering. So lane departure will stop you leaving the lane. Lane keeping will keep you dead center. But if you want to turn them off, 1, 2, 3, and you get this orange warning over here, and that means it's off. And the other thing as well, the speed limit's in through here. They will beep whenever you exceed the speed limit. So again, 1, 2, 3, and that is your shortcut to turn off the sound. So a lot of people are getting into these cars. They get into the car, started, 1, 2, 3 to turn off their steering, 1, 2, 3 to turn off their speed warning, and it's back into a car from about 3 or 4 years ago, which is not giving you as much input audibly or in terms of steering. Oh, just before we finish up, actually, there's one other thing that I really like in these. So I like the way that's kind of embossed into the bodywork at the back. Just think it's like a nice feature. I think it's a cool looking car. There's something really Cadillac-y looking. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it. Like a big American thing, and I really don't know what to say to you on that. It just, there's something cool looking about it I really like. If I've missed anything, absolutely no problem. Ask me and I'll do my best to answer the questions. If you want to know more, 086 843 1945. Hopefully you like the car. Hopefully the video has been useful for you, and it gives you a better idea of what it's kind of touchy-feely like when you're looking around different kind of areas of it. And if you get to the end, wow, I appreciate your time. Thanks a million for watching, and hopefully it's been useful. Thank you.